The question becomes, do we reject that, or do we manage that reality while building our own capacity? Let's address the situation with local business owners that actually happens to have a different perspective in that. How do you feel about that? I know,
Yeah.
because me and you, I represent a lot of
Yes,
different
sir.
businesses over the years. I had a great opportunity of just being able to meet a gentleman years over. Now it's been over 30
Yes,
years
sir.
I've been working with and helping with Arab
Yes,
businesses
sir.
and things of that nature. What's your thought
Yeah.
process on that? Because I
Yes,
hear a
sir.
lot of people. Me and you share a meeting
Yeah.
that we're in,
Yes, sir.
and there was a certain ethnic brother who was in this meeting who made a comment that says, "Hey, I want to see my neighborhood back the way it was." He has to be in his 60s or 70s. When I was young, which had to be 30, 50, 60 years ago, in the community, he said the Hungarians owned that community and lived there. And he wanted to see the neighborhood look like that again. Black man, by the way, who's saying he wanted to see his neighborhood look like the Hungarian neighborhoods again. Then he asked the owners of the business, who are Arab, where do they live? And they said they live in Strongsville. And he said, I want my neighborhood to look like Strongsville. The answer to that question, I think we all want our neighborhood to look like Strongsville. And before our community was black, it was other communities that were there. But from what I remember of people who lived in those communities, it wasn't no place for us.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't like the hungry
The doors
people.
were open.
The
Come on
doors were
in.
open
Yeah.
for us to do that,
Yeah.
nor
Yeah.
did we have businesses
Yes, sir.
in those
We
communities
most
back
certainly
then.
did not.
We definitely didn't
Yes,
have
sir.
businesses. And so moving forward, we don't have businesses now.
Yes,
So
sir.
what's your theory on that?
I agree with the second half of what you said in regards to managing those relationships, creating those community standards and guidelines, but then also building up our own economic infrastructure to where we can have ownership.
That's correct.
Now, some communities in Cleveland, there are black people that have ownership of these spaces, but what's happening is the nice part of the neighborhood, that's where they're developing at. They're gonna build their businesses up over there. They're gonna put good people in those spots. What's happening in communities like where I'm at on Buckeye or Mount Pleasant or Woodhill, they'll bring in a black startup business and have them do the build out of the entire space. Now, we're talking about somebody with very minimal resources. This is probably their first time establishing a business, and they're being tasked with the build out of the space on top of that. And what we're seeing is these businesses are collapsing. They're not built for sustainability. And so, my thing is, while we do have Palestinian business owners in our neighborhood, they in fact are a part of our communities now. I got a business owner across the street from me, Mr. Alex. He's had that hair store since for as long as I can remember. He lost his son to gun violence in that neighborhood. A shootout happens outside. His son goes outside to see what happened, and he's hit with a bullet. He's impacted by what happens here. He then is a part of this community. So how can we all build a rapport in which what happens to you happens to me? And so you aren't just taking economic resources from this neighborhood and going back to Charlottesville, but you also investing in this community while you're here as well. And at minimum, we're all prioritizing the safety of people in this neighborhood. At minimum.
At minimum, we have to do that. And I believe the way business is going, quite frankly, if you do good business, people going to come. If you do bad business, they're
White,
not
black,
gonna come.
Asian.
Whatever you are.
Yes,
And
sir.
so to that point where I believe that there are businesses in the community
sir.
that people have issues with.
Yes, sir.
Because I believe that every business ain't good.
sir.
When I was growing up in Glenville,
Yes, sir.
Michael White was growing up, he was a councilman. He was famous because we used to have a meat market at the corner of our street up on 105 and St. Clair, somewhere in there. And he was known for protesting and them closing this meat market down. Now we talking about in the 70s, early 80s, late 70s, 80s, when he did that. Now, and I both know that wasn't no black meat market. No, it was a white meat. It wasn't even a Palestinian meat market. It was some white organized Jewish or something who was selling bad meat that was in there that they decided that they wanted to close that business down. So they ended up closing that business down.